Homeless protesters say shelters aren't the answer. Tonight, our investigative team reveals what conditions are like on the inside.
Slum of the slums, you guys pay top dollar for it. It's cheaper for you guys to put us in a hotel.
Private operators, they're required to do not a whole lot.
We shouldn't be relying on residential homes to be emergency shelter when they can just simply be homes.
Another residential school apology is in the works for Labrador's north coast, but the Premier's office won't confirm the details.
I'm Colleen Connors in Grossmore National Park, where researchers are studying eelgrass and its effect on climate change and coastal erosion.
We read so much about it, hear about it, and know the importance of it in the work that we do.
Some people call it the underwater plant hero.
What's eelgrass? We'll find out.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Peter Cowan in Tonight for Carolyn. Tonight, we're taking a look at conditions inside for-profit shelters. For weeks, homeless protesters in St. John's have been calling for permanent housing, saying shelters don't solve the problem. And despite promises to steer away from for-profit shelters and an array of health and safety concerns, the province is still funneling millions into the industry. Ariana Kelland has this CBC Investigates story as part of our series, Sheltered.
Place we feel safe.
Robert Osmond has been homeless for 5 months. On the steps of Confederation Building, he points to part of the problem.
The shelter residents here now are getting poorer and poorer. The ones who own the shelters are getting dirty, filthy, rich.
Now, shelter can mean different things. There are nonprofits like The Gathering Place, for instance, which would have a board of directors, resources, and a mandate. Then there are private operators. There's no requirement for them to provide anything except for food. This shelter on University Avenue has been taking in people with nowhere else to go for years. Through access to information, CBC News has obtained a litany of serious concerns raised about conditions inside these private shelters. Now, it's important to note that we don't know which private shelters have been flagged because that information is redacted. What's not is the seriousness of the complaints. Just this June, a shelter user jumped from a second-story window and was hospitalized. Women facing unwanted sexual solicitation, even an allegation that a shelter operator was engaging in sex acts with clients. Then there's the broken smoke detectors, locks and doors, the urine-soaked furniture, mold and rodents, open drug use, violence and weapons, clients reporting getting meals of pogo sticks and hungry man dinners, or nothing at all. And all of this costs money, $5 million in the last year. So how can this happen? Well, in this province, there is no minimum standard for shelter conditions, but the province says it is working to fix that and has hired an Ontario-based company to develop a set of standards that the industry can follow.
A lot of the for-profit operators, they're not known for their accommodations, as for sure. They can be very unsafe.
Doug Pawson of End Homelessness St. John's sits on the steering committee working on these goals. Those complaints don't come as a shock to him. Some of them may have even come from community groups like his own.
If we can get through with a set of standards, with a set of guidelines that's consistently applied, but with a housing focus that's sort of underpinning the work of emergency shelter, I think we can see some real outcomes.
Pawson is optimistic these standards will improve the system, but ultimately, he says,
we shouldn't be relying on residential homes to be emergency shelter when they can just simply be homes.
The Housing Corporation says shelters are inspected quarterly or when a complaint is made, and stress that a complaint does not always mean a violation, but each is reviewed to determine validity and appropriate action. Ariana Kelland, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, government faced questions today about the tents that were removed next to Confederation Building in a park. Yesterday, these empty tents were removed by RNC officers. The belongings and the tents were taken back to police headquarters where the owners can claim them. But the NDP leader Jim Dinn questioned the rationale for removing them in the first place.
Are these actions about wellness checks and public safety, or are they police intimidation tactics designed to instill fear in the tenters and force them to move?
Thank you, Speaker. I can say with absolute confidence it is for public safety reasons that collapsed tents on the corner of one of the busiest streets in the city were removed for safety purposes. And to say that it was for intimidation reasons is totally unacceptable, and I would say beyond shameful, Speaker.
Indeed.
Well, oil prices surged earlier today with Brent crude trading above $92 a barrel. Some forecasters are predicting it could rise as high as $100 a barrel amid a war between Israel and Hamas. Higher prices will put pressure on pocketbooks from the cost of gas, home heating oil, and other goods and services. But Provincial Finance Minister Siobhan Cody doesn't anticipate the increase will mean extra revenue for the government.
So we know during the summer the price of oil, the price of gasoline and fuel was lower, and now it's higher. So we're going to see this kind of medium of the 86 that we said it would be in budget. But it is difficult for the people of the province. That's why we've lowered the provincial gasoline tax by 8 cents, over 8 cents actually, because what we wanted to do was make sure that we kept that price of gasoline as low as we possibly can.
Now, Cody says she hopes to keep the 8-cent reduction on gasoline, but isn't making any promises. Meanwhile, PC leader Tony Wakeham says he wants government to put more money back in people's pockets.
Obviously, events that are happening in the world right now may have a major impact on oil prices. We may see that sooner than later. We've certainly seen an increase in the cost of living. That's having a significant impact on the people of Newfoundland and Labrador. And so when that happens, I think the onus is on government to really look at how we can help people. How can we help people and put more money back in their pockets? That's what that's what our focus should be.
Another northern Labrador community is preparing for an apology from Premier Andrew Furey. In a social media post, Rigolette's local Department of Health and Social Development says Furey would be in the community on November 1st. Furey apologized to survivors in Cartwright last month. Rigolette is holding a public meeting to discuss the details of the visit, including who should accept the apology and what cultural performances will happen. The post comes nearly a week after a similar post said Furey was expected to offer an early November apology in another Nunatsiavut community, Hopedale. The Premier's office would not confirm any details of the apology. Well, now to an update on a story we brought you earlier this week. An RNC officer has chosen to head straight to a Public Complaints Commission hearing. The review is connected to the illegal detainment of a man in Corner Brook in 2015 and text messages described as inappropriate that were revealed 2 years later. Constable Joe Smythe has dropped his application for a stay. He had been asking the court to hold off on his hearing until it reviewed the Public Complaints Commissioner decision to bring it to a public hearing. This clears the way for Smythe's public 2-day hearing in December.
Well, it was a chilly morning this morning. I'm sure most of you across, well, let's say a good chunk of us across the metro area had to scrape your cars this morning. Officially minus 0.3 degrees in St. John's. That marks the first freeze so far this year and the coldest temperature since May of this year. Now, quite a difference in the temperatures as you head across the Avalon. It was, 1.9 degrees in downtown, and then CBS was bottomed out at about 3.9 degrees last night. But we do have a number of areas seeing those temperatures below zero this morning. Badger, Deer Lake, Corner Brook, all in there across Labrador. Most of you actually stayed above zero last night, but as we head through the night tonight, we are looking at another chilly one across the province. We're sitting under a ridge of high pressure. Not a whole lot going on weather-wise. We've got a few showers on the go for areas through the west coast, but we'll talk about what's coming in the long range, some rain. I'll get into the details when I come back.
Thanks, Ashley. A large marine research project is happening in Grossmorn. Scientists are studying eelgrass meadows growing at the bottom of the ocean. Fish like cod and halibut get their start there, but eelgrass meadows are declining globally. Here now's Colleen Connors went out with a research crew to learn more.
This green stuff is known as the underwater plant hero. It's a buffer against coastal erosion, protecting places like this. Amongst these green shoots are baby fish, like halibut, lobster, crab, and shrimp. And most importantly, to some scientists, is the grass's effect on climate change.
Not only do they look after all types of juvenile species, they also help trap carbon, which, of course, with the carbon crisis, it's kind of an important habitat.
She says without this underwater grass, there would be no fishing industry in all the coastal communities surrounding Gros Morne.
Today and historically, it really is what built our communities. So without those eelgrass habitats, we don't have, cod as a juvenile species to grow and get bigger, crab, lobster, halibut. We don't have those species, and we don't have the food that they also depend on. So we really, really need to protect it and look after those habitats to really look after our commercial fisheries and us to stay around.
But eelgrass meadows are declining on a global scale, mostly because of these little critters, the European green crab, an invasive species.
This one here,
They were first sighted in Gros Morne in 2009, but there hasn't been enough data to give a clear picture of what's happening until now.
I say this a lot, but you get to bring the ocean to eye level.
Researchers like Sydney are studying the eelgrass with underwater cameras and snatching up the little green crabs who like to eat it at the stems. Sydney and her colleagues spent the past several months collecting data and found a lot more green crabs than expected. They've got 2 more years of this, and then all that information goes into one big marine data bank, or atlas. The whole project is costing around $65,000.
It's where it's connected to. It's all of the data that we're collecting is kind of feeding into the bigger picture of the Marine Atlas for Gros Morne that Ecology Action Center is creating, which is kind of creating, it's like a map that shows everything that's going on in the region of the ocean, showing all the activities that we do and the importance of the ocean to the people.
Well, all that data that's collected will go into a bank of sorts that will help determine which areas with eelgrass should be conserved or protected. Now, the research is not just happening in Bombay, but all over Gros Morne National Park. Colleen Connors, CBC News, Norris Point.
Well, this is the week to celebrate the best of the province's rich music scene. The MusicNL Awards are coming this Saturday, but there are events all week leading up to the gala, like one-on-one meetings with industry experts. Here now's Arlette Lazarenko has more.
It's a big week for musicians across Newfoundland and Labrador. MusicNL is having its 31st annual Music Celebration Week. This year, MusicNL is bringing industry experts to talk one-on-one with the musicians.
We're in a time where the music industry is really tough for young artists because the world is out there, the options are overwhelming sometimes, and trying to navigate that so that they could have success. Everybody's looking for a sustainable career, which is really difficult, and so we're here to try to provide advice as best we can and help them navigate.
Daryl is a wealth of knowledge, and he gave me some fantastic advice just about, playing sold out shows and how to do that and how to get people interested in your music. And again, how saturated the music scene is, especially online and with AI coming up, and just like how do you stand out amongst the crowd and how do you gain interest?
I think managing your career is probably maybe even 50% of it. My God, it's so important, especially for someone like me who's, in her 50s and coming to this later in my life. There's a lot of technology involved, a lot of social media is such a huge part now of promoting yourself as an artist. So I've got stuff to learn. I'm sort of doing the best that I can, but I really, really appreciate the support that's here this week for that.
The numbers are crazy. It's about 120,000 new songs uploaded every single day to Spotify, and I've heard that that's going to go upwards to 1 million in the next year with AI and such coming on board. So trying to get seen and even noticed, cutting through the clutter, is really one of the main things that people are having a hard time with right now.
It's a fantastic opportunity that MusicNL can get musicians in touch with these people who are coming to hear our music. We wouldn't necessarily have gotten that opportunity otherwise. So MusicNL Week is really important for that, meeting people and just understanding how it works and how you can live off music.
Well, we're about to take you behind the scenes on a music video shoot in Shehajit. It was a video for a very special song, one that was written by teenagers from the community and produced with the help from Indigenous arts educator Nui Jinan. Take a look.
Guys, I'm just fixing up the camera here.
Nice full actions. It's gonna look great.
It's a beautiful project. These kids are bright and creative and have some really thoughtful things to share in their song. I think it's going to be wonderful. I feel like the community is going to get a really good sense of the youth and get uplifted for sure.
If you want things to be like the old times, let it out if it's eating you inside. Messed up, now you're regretting it. I'll try harder to communicate.
Hi there, my name is Caden Carfrey, stage name Cade Jones. I'm out here in Sheshatshish with the youth. I'm working with Norwegian Mobile Production Studio this week. We're working on a music video and as well as a song.
Say sorry a million times.
Nice job, guys. We do mobile production studios where we travel to reserves here across Canada, teaching music skills and as well as lots of other life skills to youth. Nice movements in the back. Once the filming is done, this song is going to be everywhere. These kids are going to have their voices heard all across Canada. So we're really, really excited. The kids are excited, and the weather today is beautiful. So we're ready to go. We're hyped up.
Nice. Good job, Nikisha. I'm learning from your mistakes.
We got chorus coming up. So hands like this, hands like this. Yes. And 1, 2, 3, chorus.
My name is Deanna Jordan Montague. I go to school in Innu School. I'm 17, and I just joined this program with these music producers. I actually learned a lot from it. It was actually a really nice and beautiful experience.
I feel kind of sad that they're going to have to leave tomorrow, but I know that there's going to be a whole other community that's going to be like this but somewhere else, and they're going to have a great experience.
I hope, people enjoy it, and especially hope that, they don't mind my part. Yeah. Bit scared on that part, I mean, my mom, she was concerned, and and now she got me concerned too.
I think she's going to be pretty excited to see the final product.
I hope she is.
Well, it was certainly a chilly morning this morning. We've got another chilly night for some of us as we head through the night, but there is some rain on the way through the weekend. I'll get into all the details in a few minutes.
Well, you might be out enjoying the nice fall colors, but if you're wondering why they may be a bit lackluster on the Avalon compared to the rest of the province, well, gardener Ross Travers had the answer on CBC Radio's The Signal. Have a look.
If you want the beautiful maples that are growing down around Dover, is the mountain maple or the native maple, and it's beautiful fall color. I went by there the other day, and a beautiful fall color there now.
Yeah, off the Avalon, it looks so great in fall, and look, the Avalon's fine, right? It's where I live, but I wouldn't mind some nice fall colors. What's going on? Why? Why?
Well, the weather conditions is a big factor when it comes to fall color. If you get warm days, sunny days, and then cold nights, that helps with developing the fall color. Actually, the chlorophyll in the plant is actually diminished, and so the color from the other chemicals in the leaf develops the nice red color, for instance, in the maples.
It's not just the maples, though. The birch often give you that really nice yellow color. That was one of my favorite things when I lived in Labrador, was seeing the hillsides just all turn nice and bright and yellow. And we saw a bit of it behind Colleen Connors tonight when she was in Grossmorn as well. So, yes, another reason the rest of the province can feel superior.
I don't know. I think there's still some pretty beautiful fall colors out there. Just looking at the hills, I like it. I'm not complaining, that's for sure. But temperatures today out there, very fall-like. In fact, if you take a look at the temperatures reaching the single digits out there, 9 degrees in St. John's, about 10 in Cape Race. As you head towards, well, really all along the south coast, those temperatures a little bit warmer. And the hot spot across Labrador tied with Nain and Lab City, where you hovered around 10 degrees for a good chunk of the afternoon. Now, if we take a look at what's going on right now, we've got not a whole lot weather-wise, an area of low pressure to the north, area of high pressure to the south. That is kind of dominating the weather picture at the moment. And if I zoom in a little bit, we had nice sunny skies for a good chunk of the day today, especially here in the east. But we do have some cloud cover working its way from west to east at the moment, and that is bringing a few scattered showers right along with it. Now we have this basically onshore westerly flow as we head through the overnight tonight. So that does mean that the areas along the south coast of the island may see a little bit of patchy drizzle through the overnight. That will be the best chance at seeing that, maybe a bit of cloud cover for the west coast. But other than that, it's going to be a quiet weather night tonight. Now up across Labrador, you're looking at generally clear skies overnight tonight, maybe a few clouds moving in as we head towards the early morning hours, and that will be for the west and the north. Now, as far as widespread freezing like we saw last night, that won't be the case. Typically in the low-lying areas, or should I say, we will see the potential for some cooler temperatures in those low-lying areas, but definitely not as widespread across the island tonight. That's not the case, though, up across Labrador. You're looking at about a 50-50 chance that you'll see some freezing tonight. And again, that will be in those low-lying areas, because otherwise temperatures tonight will hover between 1 and 3 degrees across the Big Land. Relatively light winds overnight tonight as well. And then across the island between about 2 to 5 degrees. But those low-lying areas, again, you may see your temperatures dip below zero through the overnight. Now, as far as tomorrow is concerned, we're not talking about a whole lot in the way of weather. It should actually be a beautiful day tomorrow. Now, along the south coast of the island, that will be the best chance of seeing a little bit of cloud cover and potentially some patchy drizzle, but that's about it. Now, clouds will be on the increase, though, for those of you in northern and western Labrador as the day goes on. And the chance of showers, but the best chance of showers will move in into the afternoon and through the overnight as well, and that will move through pretty much until we head into Friday morning. Now, temperatures tomorrow are going to be much warmer. We're talking about daytime highs anywhere from about 12 to 13 degrees through the day. The winds will be out of the west around 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. So this is a bit about where we should be sitting this time of year. Typically around 9 to about 11 degrees is the daytime high. And then for Labrador, you're looking at a nice day as well for basically the southeastern portion of Labrador, but up across northern portions and the west, you are looking at a bit of a breezy day with those southwesterly winds between 30 to 50 kilometers per hour. And again, you're also looking at that chance of a few showers in the mix as well. Now, as we head through the next couple of days, it is going to be quiet weather for the most part, really into Friday as well. But by the time we get into Saturday, our next weather maker is going to move in. This is going to bring, it looks like, some heavy rain again across the island. We're also looking at the potential for some wind, and this really continues as we head into Sunday as well. So by the time we get into Sunday afternoon, we're talking about the periods of rain and also the potential for those stronger winds. We're talking maybe 60, 70 kilometer per hour winds. At this point, in behind that on Monday, it flashed through the screen there quickly, but we are talking about the potential for a few flakes. Don't be surprised to see that. We'll certainly talk about that in the long range forecast, Peter, but I think it's about time that we start talking about it.
No, it's not. No, it's not. I'm fine to just pretend that we never get them here, but I guess it's time we face reality.
Thanks.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, turning now to the St. John's International Women's Film Festival, filmmakers, producers, and other creative types are in the capital city to network and rub shoulders, some for the first time since 2019. And speaking of networking, Here and Now's Aoife Alba is standing by live at the Alt Hotel in St. John's. What's happening down there?
I am here at the Eat, Drink, and Be Seen event hosted by the Women's Film Festival. It's night 2 out of 5 and it has been off to a strong start. Pirate Party kicked off the festival last night at the Majestic Theatre, and as mother and son duo Ruth and Luke Lawrence said earlier today, after years of virtual screenings, there's nothing like the real thing.
Pretty amazing. I mean, it was really special for us in a lot of ways because the first time that I opened up the festival was with another film that Jennifer Hawley produced called Little Orphans, but it was a pandemic year, so we opened it to the virtual audience, and that's not quite the same, Adam. There was not really, there wasn't really any way of us knowing how people were receiving the film. So it was a real challenge for us anyway to know, like, did they like it? What do people think of the film? So this was a more direct way of getting audience response. And obviously with a comedy, we really needed that.
No phone, no car, no girlfriend.
I thought people were like actually missing jokes because they were laughing at the last joke, and I was like, oh man, I was really like, there's like times I was like literally like talking to my friends, I was like, yo, you missed that joke. Man, that joke is really good. That joke's better than that one. Like that joke's better than that one, man.
Even when my life gets better, it still sucks.
I got the party pirate himself. There he is. Just before something terrible happens to him. You can tell by the look on his face. And then this is like Kid Tommy. So there are some figures that Tommy in the movie manipulates, and then there are other scenes that are just stop motion. And then there are stop motion scenes that have to be integrated into live action, which I had never done. This is the second movie I have ever done, and it was terrifying.
She was awesome.
Well,
you never know it was the second movie.
Well, it was a learning curve. It was like K2.
Last night, it's still surreal to me, to be honest. To get everyone back together for the first time was pretty magical. I kept thinking about Ruth Lawrence, who opened the festival, of course. She did a documentary on the Women's Film Festival the year prior called A Lot of Love in the Room. And that was exactly it. There was so much love. There was so much joy. Everyone was so excited. New venue, finally back together in person, this brilliant film, and just, what's next? And I think that we're finally at that point to say, great, what's next? And let's plan and be happy and excited about that instead of, the pandemic world that we've been living in. I feel like there's a lot of fresh, the clouds have parted and we're here, and it's a really exciting time. Our film industry has grown so much. What's next?
And she is not alone. From the buzz here at the Alt Hotel, everyone is feeling that very same positivity. Everyone's happy to be back in person, talking about what they're passionate about, and that is film. Later on, I will have more from the Women's Film Festival on the show.
Excellent. Looking forward to it. That's Ife Alba reporting for us live tonight.
Like I will forgive the CSST what they've done, but I will never forget the pain that I have.
More testimony today in Shahajit. We have parts of that coming up just ahead. Well, there's a new land reserve coming to Ragged Beach. It's going to stop any development on Crown lands there and further protect the Witless Bay Ecological Reserve bird population. It's an area long fought over, and conservationists are happy the day has finally come.
An ecological treasure with a beautifully calming view. Residents fear the construction is just the beginning.
We're on Ragged Beach. We're on the edge of the Witless Bay Ecological Seabird Reserve, largest puffin colony in North America, and a huge colony of Leach's storm petrels. Both of those species are active at night and attracted to light. Anywhere we can have some place like this immediately adjacent where there's no light, that's just a huge precautionary tactic, and on the part of the government, on the part of people who are concerned about seabirds, the marine environment. So it's really quite a positive situation to do this.
In my email popped up a message actually from a minister with the government who just said, just giving you a heads up that there was an announcement this afternoon you may be interested in.
And what was this news exactly?
Well, the news was that the government has established a 75-hectare Crown Land Reserve on the dark coastline at Ragged Beach.
This land reserve, we'll call it. What is that going to mean exactly? What does it mean for this area and for the town having this designation?
Well, this is really big news for the town of Witless Bay, and it's not just a matter of saying Crown land is protected. I really believe this is going to be the impetus for the town to move on and recognize some incredible opportunities. I don't think we've ever reached our potential or capitalized on everything the reserve can bring to us socially, culturally, economically. And I think that this recognition by the provincial government, which I think was a very brave decision on their part, and I think it's just going to be the impetus to see some incredible developments for the town of Witless Bay and our entire region.
And what could some of those be?
Well, I mean, it's a world-class reserve, and it's right here off our shores. And now that we have the Crown Land Reserve, we can move past some of the negative things that have happened, and we can look at things like maybe a marine research station here in Witless Bay, where we would have it's a dream, maybe partner with the university, education programs for kids, keep seniors connected to their environment. And when you think about all the things that could come out of that, economically, culturally, artistically, there's incredible potential. And now we've been given, this is almost like a vote of confidence. This is almost like recognition of what we have, and now we can build on that.
It's a site that'll get used by by researchers, so it has that added advantage or that added value. So this belongs to everybody, and that's the better way to do it.
For the people of Witless Bay, we've turned a corner. This is a really good news story, and we intend to work really hard to build on this and just, bring our community into the sun where it should be.
I understand you came here last night and you released a little bird. Tell me about that moment.
We were at the fire department for Fire Prevention Week. The council brought some food, and we all dropped in to thank them for their service. And one of the firemen was leaving, and he came in. He found a bird under his truck. And so I was like, oh my goodness, that's a storm petrel. So it was the first time I've been back since the reserve was announced. So it was a really poignant visit to come back and, of course, have a bird in tow. All environmentalists in the province, don't give up. We were 12 years and we persevered, and now we've seen this victory, and, just keep going and keep believing in what you're doing. It's worth it.
Well, in a statement, the Provincial Fisheries Department says the new development on Crown land in the area will be restricted, but the minister may issue grants, leases, licenses, and easements where required on an urgent basis for the public good. While the Innu inquiry into children in care continues in Shehajit, among those testifying is Chelsea Panashwe, who was taken into the foster care system when she was 8 years old. First, a warning, some may find these accounts distressing. Have a look.
They didn't even tell my grandparents that they were going to send me to North Bay, Ontario. And I stayed at the lab in for 2 nights, and I remember it was in winter time. And someone from Shashashi, she's not around anymore, but she passed away. She took me to North Bay, and it took the whole day for us to get there. And then when we got to North Bay, I remember the worker picked us up at North Bay Airport. And we went to the foster home that I was going to stay at, and it was not in the town of North Bay, but it was in another really small town that I stayed. And it was really in the bush, and it was like right at the end of the road. And I remember like we got in the house around 12 o'clock midnight. And they told me, they like showed me around the house and where I was going to sleep. And like they were like, I remember my foster parents were really excited to have me, but I was so scared. I didn't know where I was. I didn't even know them. And the lady that brought me there, she was going to leave me. And I remember like crying and crying like all night. And I asked her to stay and if I could go with her. And they let me sleep at the hotel with her. I didn't sleep at my foster parents that night. But the next day she had to bring me back. And I never seen my parents or my grandparents for the next 2 years. I remember like feeling like I was wondering all the time, like every time I would go to bed, if my parents like knew where I was. I'm still like working on it. I know it's gonna take probably like a really, really long time for me like to heal from all the trauma that I've been through. And like I will forgive the CSSD what they done, but I will never forget the pain that I had. They took like all my teenage years from me. Sometimes like I like wonder why me?
Well, the Barbie movie's been getting a lot of headlines, but we're just a few minutes away from a different film. Black Barbie is showing at the Majestic Theatre in St. John's. It's a documentary, and it's this evening's feature at the St. John's International Women's Film Festival. Our Ife Alba is at an event just down the road at the Alt Hotel. How's it going down there, Ife?
Going great. This is the Eat, Drink, and Be Seen event ahead of tonight's film. And there's so much more happening here apart from film screenings. People are networking, possible collaborations are happening right in this very room. Today, there was a Women in View panel session and discussion where there was a call for change and equity in the industry. With me, I have the founder of the St. John's International Women's Film Festival, Dr. Noreen Golfman, to tell me more about it. Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm excellent.
Can you tell me a bit more about this call for change and action?
Yeah, Women in View is an initiative that started 13 years ago. The first report was actually staged here at this festival. And every year there's a report that harvests all the data about how many women are working in the film industry, both on screen and behind the camera, at every level. So it's a way of gauging how representative the industry really is. And this year, the research really opened up to a much more diverse spectrum. So it's also women who might be Black, Indigenous, women of color, women who are typically left outside the industry opportunities.
That's amazing. So, of course, you're the founder, so you would know it's been 30 years since the festival started. 34 years. Thank you so much. What can you tell me about the hurdles and why there's such an urgency for change now?
I think that sense of urgency has been with us from the beginning. I think the festival began out of a need to recognize that women had to have an opportunity to show their work and to be encouraged to do their work and have a showcase for it. So we became primarily at the beginning an exhibition site. Now, as you can see, the film festival is an opportunity for workshops, for conversations, for initiatives, projects that get initiated, because we're bringing in this year about 100 people in the industry from all over who are talking to young and emerging filmmakers about their projects in this really intimate environment, which is St. John's. And I just heard today about a feature film that was an idea, happened over a cocktail at a conversation here about 6 years ago. And now it's a feature film. So we don't even know half of what's happened over the years, but that urgency really never goes away because the data, as we heard today, still does not put enough women in the director's chair. There are a lot of women producing here, but very few are actually directing. So that's just makes it all the more pressing that we make that space for that opportunity.
Thank you so much for talking to me.
My pleasure. Thank you.
That was founder Dr. Noreen Golfman. I am Ife Alaba reporting live in St. John's.
Well, in Manitoba today, a new premier, Wab Kinew, and his cabinet were sworn into office. And it was a first for Canada. No First Nations person has served as a provincial premier before.
I, Wabonaquit Kinew, do solemnly swear.
Kinew's New Democrats won a majority in the October 3rd provincial election. Also sworn in today were the first two Indigenous women to serve as cabinet ministers in Manitoba's history. Well, U.S. President Joe Biden is in Israel as charges and countercharges continue over who's responsible for the deadly explosion at a hospital in Gaza. Biden's support of Israel led to the cancellation of a summit between the U.S. president and Palestinian, Arab, and Israeli leaders. But Biden is hoping U.S. influence can prevent the current war from expanding.
We've moved U.S. military assets to the region, including positioning the USS Ford Carrier Strike Group in the Eastern Mediterranean, with the USS Eisenhower on the way to defer further aggression against Israel and to prevent this conflict from spreading.
Following a request from Biden, Israel says it will allow basic humanitarian aid to enter Gaza from Egypt as long as it does not fall into the hands of Hamas. Biden also announced $100 million in aid for residents of Gaza and the West Bank. The Hamas-controlled health ministry in Gaza says more than 470 people were killed and more than 300 were wounded in yesterday's explosion. Well, you promised us in this weather you'd be talking about the F word, but before we get to that, you're going to talk about the weekend weather. And it seems like it's a bit of a repeat of last weekend, where all the rain is just saving itself up and going to dump on our parade, I guess.
Yeah, except the Sunday won't be as nice as last weekend, unfortunately.
Okay. So worse than last weekend is what you're telling me.
Yeah, just the bearer of bad news. Yeah, let's take a look at what's going on as you head into your Thursday evening and into your Friday. Now, The weather, over the next couple of days is going to be fairly quiet and warming up. I showed you that earlier, that temperatures will be between 11 and about 13 degrees tomorrow. And as we head into Friday, we're actually going to see some warmer air still, even warmer, I should say, move in through the afternoon as well on your Friday. So we're still looking at the chance of some showers, though, for those of you in the western portion of Labrador. That'll head through central Labrador as well into the evening hours. And then we've got that chance of showers along the southwestern portion of the island as well. And this will be again in the Friday evening time frame, and we will see those clouds on the increase. But as far as those temperatures are concerned, bumping up even more, 12 to 15 degrees as the daytime highs across the island. Southeastern portions of Labrador will hang on to those teens as well, about 13 degrees in Happy Valley Goose Bay, same thing for Cartwright. But those single-digit temperatures, unfortunately, will hang around for the western portion of Labrador as well as the north. But Nain looking beautiful with lots of sunshine through your Friday. Now, Friday evening into Saturday, this is when the next weather maker will move in, so things will start to deteriorate as we head into the afternoon hours on Monday. You'll start to see those showers, though, along the southern portion of the island. Also, the winds pick up in the morning, but then the afternoon, widespread areas of periods of rain, as well as some heavy rain right along with that, and those winds will be gusty as well. We're talking 60, 70, maybe even 80 km/h winds through the afternoon and evening hours on Saturday. And unfortunately, this will stick around as we head into Sunday. Now, note the temperatures, 15 to 17 degrees, fairly warm. Same thing as far as warm temperatures are concerned for Labrador is again 12 to 14 degrees, but you're hanging on to those single digits. Nain, you're going to sit this one out. You're looking at some sunshine through the day on Saturday. Long range forecast shows that warmth continuing into Sunday, but we will see that drop in temperatures as we get into Monday. The showers will still stick around, but our overnight lows are going to start to dip. Now, even more so across Labrador. Note those across central and western Newfoundland. Note those temperatures on Monday night, down to 0 degrees. This is where we may see a few flakes. Maybe Sunday night, but we'll have to pay attention to that one. I don't see too much in the way of accumulation. Most of this will be rain, and western Newfoundland, you're dropping down to 5 degrees by the time you get into Monday. And then for eastern Labrador, potential for some flurries Sunday night. That will continue into Monday, and western Labrador, you will see that a bit earlier on Sunday, at least in the morning hours. And then you actually should see some clearing out. Monday looks nice but chilly, with a temperature near 3 degrees. Now our weather photo of the day, very picturesque. This is the Terra Nova River. Gail shared this great shot with me. I love it when we can see the reflection in the water. It's one of my favorite things.
That means it's calm.
It's calm, which means it's a beautiful day as well. Thank you so much for that. If you have any weather photos you'd like to share with us, you can send them to my Facebook page. But the best place is to email them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Oh, beautiful. A few more days like that, and of course the sunsets are a whole lot earlier than they once were, and once we hit the end of daylight savings time,
November 5th.
Yeah, that's coming around the corner, and then it'll be even earlier.
Even earlier.
Whenever we leave work, it'll
just full of good
out.
news, Peter.
I know, this is the time of the year where things are going to get worse before they get better, I feel like.
Yeah, they will.
Well, that's it for us tonight. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Have a great evening.
Good night.